Okay, let's play some damn chess. What the fuck is Swiss chess? It better not be that discombobulated bullshit. God damn it. The fuck you. Registration not available. Fuck you. Suck my slut. Street whore. Slut. From China. Suck my slut. You suck my dick, bitch.
In the United Kingdom, just today, we passed 100,000 people who've been killed by the virus.
Dick.
And the Christian has to say that this is morally justified. And they're welcome to do so with reference to theodicies, by saying that, this is pain. People like to speak kind of abstractly about how pain and suffering might be necessary to obtain certain goods, or it'll be compensated in the afterlife, or something of this sort. But we have to say specifically on issues like this.
Dick.
God doesn't cause evil, but God is so good that He draws good out of evil that might not have existed without evil. He permits evil to bring about a greater good.
It's still perfectly entitled to say that they're upset by this, that they're sad, that they're angry, that they don't understand the reasons, but ultimately, philosophically, they have to say, this is a cause for celebration. Thank goodness that this has been allowed to happen, so that we can draw out some good. Thank goodness that 100,000 people in the world are affected by this virus, so that some good can be achieved.
That's right.
Alex, tell us a little bit of your journey, because you also did grow up in a sort of Catholic setting, didn't it? But it certainly didn't stick, did it, obviously, with Bishop Barron. Tell us your journey then.
Well, I mean, it stuck for a while. As much as it perhaps would of anybody of my age. I remember being sat on the back of a bus on a school trip, praying my rosary and essentially being bullied into doing so. I was fairly devout as a child. A lot of people have a deconversion story, like my own dad had a deconversion story from when he was much younger, when his own dad died. And when that happened, he just essentially immediately
I'm getting in this business!
Interestingly, some people do the exact opposite. When a loved one dies, they cling to religion because that's one way that they kind of cope with the thing that they're facing. For me, there was no kind of singular event that happened that made me say I no longer believe this. It was more a realization of the baselessness of what it was that I did believe. Now, that's not necessarily to say that the Catholicism to which I ostensibly subscribe is baseless, but that my reasons for subscribing to it were baseless. And I think that's a product of bad teaching, or at least in the same way that Bishop Barron describes our religious education was similarly kind of like doing PE or something. It was just one of these classes you did, nobody took it particularly seriously, and so it was very easy to brush it off. But the thought that I had was, why is it that I believe this? Where does this come from? And I suddenly realised that there was nothing there. So it wasn't a process of me saying, I'm now going to say this was false, but a process of me saying, okay, let me find out what it is that underlies this worldview, and let me see if I can work my way back to where I was. And I'm still working to this day. The climb has never stopped. I'm still happily weeding through the arguments and literature as best I can to potentially one day regain the Catholicism that I once had, or another religion, because, of course, while it is true that if Catholicism is true, it's the most important truth, it's trivially also the case that any other religion, this would apply to any other religion as well. So there's a very live potentiality for me to regain that religious persuasion, but I just haven't had any success thus far.
Would it be fair to say that any of those new atheists...
Man, suck my dick, bitch.
For years, the kingdom of Moab has been suppressed by the of Israel. They demanded tribute by extracting 100,000 lambs every year. The wool of 100,000 rams, year after year.
Suck my motherfucking dick.
The god of Moab, Chemosh, has been silent. And then around 840 BCE, a new king sits on the throne.
Bitch, you suck my dick, bitch.
His name is
Kiss that motherfucking bitch,
son of Chemosh. And in his own words,
suck my
Chemosh finally speaks. And Chemosh said to me, go seize Nebo from Israel.
Suck my
Mesha rides through the smooth night. He hits the Israelite town of Nebo hard at the break of dawn. He doesn't stop until the sun is overhead. 7,000 Israelites are dead before noon. Men, boys, women, girls, slave women, all of them devoted to destruction. I killed all of them, for I had devoted to Ashtar Chemosh. And in the wreckage of that captured town, Mesha walks into the precinct of the Israelite God. He takes the sacred vessels of Yahweh, the cultic objects, the implements of worship, the physical apparatus by which the God of Israel has been honored on that ground for generations.
Suck my fucking dick.
He carries them out. He carries them across the border. He carries them across the high desert.
Dick.
He carries them all the way home.
Move,
to
you
his
fucking
own
whore.
capital, to the temple of his own God, and in the temple of Chemosh, in the city of Dibon. He sets the vessels of Yahweh down at Chemosh's feet. In the ancient grammar of war, this isn't looting. This is a coronation, the public ritual announcement that one God has beaten another. Yahweh has been defeated by Chemosh.
Horseshit.
Yahweh in the worldview of the ancient Near East is now captured God, a war prize, a defeated deity laid out before a living one. The God of Israel,
God damn it.
humiliated, dragged across a border, deposited at the feet of Chemosh like a dead king. And Mesha orders the moment carved into stone so the world will know what his God did. Almost 3,000 years later, that slab is sitting in a museum in Paris.
God damn it.
And one line of it reads like this: "And I took from there the vessels of Yahweh, and I dragged them before Chemosh." Now look, I can already hear apologists in the back of the room yelling at their screens. Mesha is a foreign king bragging on a stone. Royal inscriptions are propaganda. You can't trust a word he says. Yeah, fair. Here's the problem. The Bible itself confirms it. That's right. The same Bible you grew up trusting, the book inerrantists defended with their last breath. 2 Kings chapter 3 records that Israel came back to take Moab and got humiliated trying. The king of Moab burned his oldest son on the wall of his last city. Great wrath fell on Israel, and the Israelite coalition went home empty-handed. Two ancient texts discussing the same war, the same Moabite king with the same outcome. My friends, this is the day Yahweh lost. And it has been hiding in plain sight in your Bible the entire time. I know. I sat in those pews. I once devoted my entire life to this God. I would have been writing the angry comment under this video 10 years ago. So if you're feeling that bristle right now, I get it. I was on the other side of this conversation.
God damn it.
We're going to do this honestly.
God fucking damn it.
Okay, let me walk you back to where this stone came from, because you have to understand the artifact before you understand the line. August 1868. A Prussian missionary named Frederick Augustus Klein is riding east of the Dead Sea into the high country the locals call Dibon. Someone leads him to a slab of black basalt lying half buried in the dirt. The surface is covered in row after row of ancient writing. Klein can't read a single line.
Man, fucking pissed
He
me
knows instantly that it matters.
Fucking
This
Christ.
will come to be called the Mesha Stele. Some scholars know it as the Moabite stone.
Fuck bucket of God.
Word gets out. Somebody found an ancient stone with writing on it. European scholars hear about it and immediately want to buy it. And the local Bedouins start realizing, wait a minute, These Europeans are suddenly very interested in this old rock that's been sitting here forever. So the price goes up. Then the negotiations start falling apart. The French want it. The Prussians want it. Everybody wants this stone. And then in one of the most insane moments in archaeological history, someone basically decides, if we can't have it, nobody can. So here's the story that gets passed down. They build a fire around the stone. They heat the basalt. Then they pour cold water over it. And the stone shatters. Gone. Or at least, that's what should have happened. But here's where the story kind of turns. Before the stone was broken, a French scholar had managed to make what's called a paper cerise. That means wet paper was pressed into the inscription, so every letter left an impression. Basically, he made a copy of the writing before the stone exploded into pieces. And that copy saved the inscription. Later, the broken fragments were gathered up. Scholars slowly put the stone back together, piece by piece, line by line. And that is what you see in the Louvre today. It's not one perfect, untouched slab. It's a reconstruction. You can still see the original brown fragments, and between them, you can see the smoother black plaster filling in the missing wounds. 34 lines of ancient writing. A stone about 3 feet tall. And this is not some random artifact written in a language nobody can connect to the Bible. This is Moabite. And Moabite is extremely close to Hebrew. Same alphabet, same basic grammar. It's really the same world. A Hebrew-speaking soldier living around 840 BCE could have looked at this thing and understood it, if he could read. That matters, because this stone is talking about the Bible's world, in the Bible's language, about the Bible's God. You really need to remember this. This is the earliest certain inscription outside the Bible that names Yahweh as the God of Israel. The absolute earliest. The name Yahweh shows up on this stone. But not in a hymn, and not in a prayer, not in a victory song written by Israel. The first certain time Yahweh's name appears in stone outside the Bible, it appears on a victory monument written by a Moabite king. A king who says he defeated Israel. Yahweh. Sit with that for a second. And in the opening line, the king introduces himself. I am Mesha, son of King Moshiati, king of Moab, the Debanite. Mesha,
kiss that
king of Moab.
Bitch.
Remember that name, because that exact king shows up in your Bible.
You stuck your head in the hornet's nest and you're about to get stung. Stupid fucker.
Open 2 Kings chapter 3 verses 4 and 5. Now, Mesha,
you
king
stuck
of Moab,
your head in that
was a
hornet's
sheep
nest and
breeder,
you're about to
and he
get
had to deliver
stung.
to the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But when Ahab died, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. This is the same Mesha, the same Moab in the exact same window of history. So right out the gate, the situation is pretty wild. A biblical text and a stone inscription from outside the Bible. One is a mere contemporary Moabite inscription. The other is a later biblical narrative preserving Israel's memory of the same conflict. Both with the same Moabite king on the same
Bitch, you
throne.
suck my dick, bitch.
Both texts agree Moab was paying tribute to Israel. Both agree Moab rebelled. Both agree Israel went to war over it. That kind of alignment is rare anywhere in the ancient Near Eastern history, my friends. It's gold for historians. We almost never get
Suck
this.
my dick, bitch.
An ancient inscription and a biblical narrative lining up on the same event from inside the same century? You can call that a unicorn. But then you follow each text all the way to its ending, and the loser is not who modern Christians would expect. Okay, listen to how Mesha tells the story, because the theology is going to sound very, very familiar.
Motherfucker,
I am Mesha, son of Chemoshiati, king of Moab, the Debanite. My father reigned over Moab 30 years, and I reigned after my father. And I made this high place for Chemosh and Karka, because he saved me from all the kings, and because he made me look down on all my enemies. Omri was king of Israel, and he oppressed Moab many days, for Chemosh was angry with his land. Did you catch that? Chemosh was angry with his land. So a foreign king walks in, takes control, and Moab gets crushed. Now stop for a second. Where have you heard that story before? That's the same pattern you find all over the Hebrew Bible. Israel sins, Yahweh gets angry, a foreign army shows up, Israel suffers. Then when the people cry out, Yahweh saves them. That is the theology of Judges. It's the theology of Kings. But here, Mesha says it's about Chemosh. This is the same logic, same structure, same kind of theology. The only thing that changed is the name of the god. Now I want to bring in a brilliant scholar at this point, Dr. Mark S. Smith, Princeton. He wrote a book called The Early History of God. This book is an absolute goldmine, family. If you want to actually understand where the religion of ancient Israel comes from, you need this on your shelf. Get a copy, seriously. I'll link it in the description. Smith argues that Israelite monotheism developed out of an earlier West Semitic religious world in which Yahweh occupied the place of Israel's national god alongside Chemosh of Moab, Milcom of Ammon, Kos of Edom, and other patron deities of the region. The Mesha stele fits exactly inside that earlier framework. He also says monolatry grew out of an early, limited Israelite polytheism that was not strictly discontinuous with that of its Iron Age neighbors. Did you hear that? Listen to it again, slowly. Limited Israelite polytheism, not strictly discontinuous with its Iron Age neighbors? A Princeton scholar, mainstream press saying out loud that early Israelite religion wasn't what your Sunday school teacher told you it was. We've been lied to, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, keep reading the stone. Mesha says Chemosh spoke to him, gave him a target. And Chemosh said to me, "Go, seize Nebo from Israel." So I went by night and fought against it from the break of dawn until noon. I seized it and killed all of them, 7,000 men, boys, women, girls, and slave women, for I had devoted it to Ashtar Chemosh. 7,000 human beings, slaughtered before noon, devoted to destruction. That verb is the explosive one, devoted. He haremed them. It's the same root the book of Joshua uses when Israel destroys Jericho, or the same root the book of Samuel uses when Saul is ordered to wipe out all the Amalekites. It is literally the same ideology, vocabulary, and holy war the Hebrew Bible describes its own armies carrying out. But this is the line that makes this whole stone famous. And from there, I took the vessels of Yahweh, and I dragged them before. The vessels of Yahweh,
Man, this is goddamn
the
bullshit.
town, over a border,
God damn it.
laid down at the feet of another god. This is downright wild material, because in ancient Near Eastern warfare, this wasn't just looting. This was the standard ritual. You captured a city, you stripped the local god's sacred property, and you placed it before your god in his temple. The Assyrians did it, the Babylonians did it, the Hittites did it. The cosmic grammar was simple. My God beat your God. And the Hebrew Bible itself describes this practice. When the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant in 1 Samuel 5, they take it straight into the temple of Dagon and prop it up before their God. Same ritual of victory.
God damn it.
Only this time the ritual is being done to Yahweh. So far you've been inside Mesh's mind, the Moabite king.
He'd bring out that whore.
Now flip the camera around. Open 2 Kings chapter 3 and read the same war from the Israelite side. Because the biblical writer is telling this story to make Israel look good. He's working for Israel's PR department. And what he writes is still devastating. Israel raises a coalition. 3 kings, Israel, Judah, Edom. They march south around the Dead Sea, cut into Moab from the bottom, and they are rolling. Listen to what the Bible says they do to Mesh's country. And they overthrew the cities, and on every good piece of land, every man threw a stone until it was covered. They stopped every spring of water and felled all the good trees, till only its stones were left in Ker Hareseth. And the slingers surrounded it and attacked it. Cities were flattened, fields burned under stones until no Moabite could ever plant in them again, springs plugged, orchards chopped to splinters, scorched earth on every acre of Mesh's kingdom. And Mesh himself was cornered. In the walls of his last city, Ker Hareseth, surrounded by the Israelite slingers pounding the gate. This is the moment in the movie where the good guy wins, right? If we can really say who the good guys really are here. But in verse 26, Mesh makes a desperate breakout. 700 swordsmen. He throws them at the weakest point in the siege line, opposite the king of Edom, and they fell. The trap holds. The Moabite king is finished. Then, verse 27. Then he took his oldest son, who was to reign in his place, and offered him for a burnt offering on the wall.
God damn it.
And there came great wrath against Israel, and they withdrew from him and returned to their own land. What the hell? He puts his oldest son on the wall, he burns him alive in full view of the Israelite army at the gate. Great wrath comes against Israel. The Israelite coalition turns around and walks home. The biblical writer just told you, Israel scorched the entire Moabite countryside, cornered the king, had won the war, and walked away. He didn't have to write that. He could have stopped at verse 25. He could have ended on Israel triumphant. He didn't. He recorded the withdrawal. I find that really wild. Okay, this gets weirder. The Hebrew phrase is Ketzef Gadol, great wrath, great fury. The text doesn't name the source. It just says wrath came on Israel. That silence is doing real work in the text. Notice what it isn't. It isn't the wrath of Chemosh. It isn't the wrath of Yahweh. It is in the Hebrew a wrath with no subject, an anger without a face. When I was a Bible fundamentalist, I read past this verse probably 100 times, maybe even more. I never once stopped on it Because in church, you're trained to read the Bible like a single, seamless document. You're trained not to notice the gaps, the cracks, the places where the text says something other than what the theology you believe wants it to say. This verse is one of those cracks. Now, of course, people argue the wrath belongs to Yahweh. People have argued that exact thing for centuries. But to make that reading work, you've got to ignore the timing. The trigger in the story is not Israel sinning. The trigger is Mesha's sacrifice. The sacrifice happens, and the wrath falls immediately. Cause, effect. If the sacrifice causes the wrath, then the wrath belongs to the God the sacrifice was offered to. And the sacrifice was offered to Chemosh. I know. That sounds wild on first hearing, but this isn't me freelancing. Critical scholarship has worked through this carefully. Mordecai Kogan and Chaim Tadmor wrote the Anchor Bible commentary on 2 Kings.
Fucking damn it.
Anchor Bible is the gold standard scholarship. Listen to how they describe this verse. This clause is one of the most perplexing items in Scripture. These are not fringe voices, my friends. These are the scholars whose books sit on every working Bible scholar's shelf. And they're saying out loud what every careful reader notices when paying close attention. The verse is a problem. The text gives you an outcome that the surrounding theology cannot cleanly absorb. Kogan and Tadmor continue discussing multiple readings in their commentary, including the view that the wrath should be understood as the wrath of Chemosh, manifesting in some unspecified calamity that forced the coalition to abandon the siege. They quote D. N. Friedman's suggestion that the Deuteronomistic historian, hostile to the Omride dynasty, recorded the outcome to deny Israel an undiluted victory. Even the NT Bible, a fairly conservative translation, prints a footnote on this verse acknowledging that the wrath of Chemosh is one of the readings on the table. But let me hand you the historian's knife. Philip Stern, writing in the Hebrew Union College Annual. Stern says, the 2 Kings 3 narrative and the Mesha inscription paint opposing pictures. Mesha claimed a string of unbroken victories, while Israel, though ultimately thwarted, retreats without losses. Both cannot be true. In no war in history did both sides go unscathed. Both obviously cannot be true. In no war in history did both sides go without being harmed in some significant manner. That is the historian's knife family. When two ancient texts both claim victory, somebody is editing. And in this case, Mesha's text and the Bible's text agree on one inconvenient fact. Israel went home. Baruch Halpern in the First Historians makes the point that the biblical historian preserved historical memory even when the theological framework of the surrounding narrative could not easily absorb it. The Deuteronomistic historian recorded the outcome, but withheld the agent, because to name Chemosh as the agent of Israel's defeat would concede a divine humiliation. Halpern treats the Mesha inscription as one of the strongest contemporary controls we have on the historical reliability of the Book of Kings.
Oh my fucking God.
Let me put it all on the table for you. Both accounts, side by side. Look at this. You get the Moabite stone. Omri, king of Israel, oppressed Moab. Mesha rebelled. Chemosh granted Mesha's victory. Mesha captured Israelite towns including Nebo. Mesha took the vessels of Yahweh and dedicated them to Chemosh. Israel was driven out of Moab. The Bible. Israel oppressed Moab. Mesha paid tribute of 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams wool. Mesha rebelled. Israel, Judah, and Edom invaded Moab. Initial Israelite military success. Mesha trapped in Ker Hareseth. Mesha offered his son as a burnt offering.
God fucking
Great wrath came on Israel. Israel withdrew.
God.
Two independent sources, same war, same Moabite king, same outcome, and both agree Moab survived. Mesha wasn't dragged off in chains. Israel didn't reconquer Moab. The Israelite coalition went home. The only point of disagreement is the editorial spin. Mesha credits Chemosh by name. The biblical historian refuses to name the agent, but he still admits the outcome. That's what scholars call an admission against interest. When a writer with every reason to spin in his favor still records the embarrassing outcome, that's how historians know something probably happened. The biblical writer wants Israel to look good. The ending is still there. But Israel went home. Hey, real quick, if you're still with me and you made it this far, I want to tell you something. Videos like this take weeks. We're reading scholarly journals, cross-checking primary sources, sitting in the dark trying to figure out how to say something true and useful for a general audience. Also editing and the detail and time that goes into it. The reason I can do this work full-time is because of the people supporting Myth Vision on Patreon and through channels memberships. That's the engine. Patreon link will be in the description. Even a few bucks a month from you keeps me out of the cubicle and in the books. I want to keep doing this so that I can educate the world. Thank you to every single one of you who are on the team. Now, let's keep going, because the objections are about to get real. Objection 1. Mesha's royal propaganda. He never really captured Nebo. He never really took the vessels. Okay, it's possible he exaggerated. Ancient kings did. The Sennacherib annals brag about a victory at Jerusalem that ended with the Assyrian army going home empty-handed. The pharaohs claim crushing victories over the Hittites. The history now reads as bloody stalemates. But here's the problem with the lying Mesha defense. Even if you throw the entire inscription out as boasting, pretend the stone never existed. 2 Kings 3 still ends the same way. Israel withdraws. The campaign fails. The Bible itself preserves the embarrassing outcome. You don't need the stone to make the point. The stone is just the second witness. Objection 2. The wrath was Yahweh's wrath. Israel did something offensive in the heat of battle. The God of Israel pulled the plug on his own campaign. Okay, walk through with me, okay? This is important. In 2 Kings 3, Elisha personally prophesies the campaign. Yahweh, through his own prophet, blesses the operation. Yahweh provides the water in the desert. Yahweh predicts the destruction of Moabite cities. Israel does exactly what the prophet told them to do, and they're winning. So where's the offense? What did Israel do between verse 25 and 27 to suddenly turn Yahweh against his own prophet's mission? The text doesn't say. There's no rebuke. There's no sin recorded. There's no oracle of condemnation. The only thing that happens between verse 25 and verse 27 is Mesha's sacrifice to Chemosh. The simplest reading is that the sacrifice causes the wrath, and the sacrifice was offered to Chemosh. Objection 3. Maybe the Israelites were just disgusted. They saw a man burn his own child on the wall, and they couldn't stomach it. They turned away in horror. This is the modern psychological reading. It's a clean exit ramp for a modern Christian reader, and it doesn't fit the Hebrew. The text doesn't say the Israelites were disgusted. The text doesn't say the Israelites were
Now that was a white man's
The text says wrath came, Ketzef. In every other occurrence of that noun in the Hebrew Bible, it refers to divine anger, never to human revulsion. Scott Moshauser argued in the Journal of Biblical Literature that Ketzef, in this verse, should be read as a religious, political, technical term, not a psychological description. The wrath here is a force inside the ancient worldview, not an emotional reaction in the troops. So all three escape routes collapse on close reading. Mesha can be a propagandist, and the Bible still records the defeat. Yahweh's anger has no biblical trigger between the victory and the withdrawal, and the troops being grossed out doesn't fit the Hebrew word. What you're left with is the reading the text invites in the first place. Mesha sacrifices to his God. His God responds. The Israelite coalition withdraws.
I'm fixing that ear, right. You rook.
Now you might be sitting there going, okay, Derek, this is all just liberal scholarship. Kogan and Tadmor are Israeli academics. Stern published in the Hebrew Union College Annual. Mark Smith is at Princeton. Sure. Fine. What does the conservative evangelical side say about all this? Great question. Thanks for asking. Joe Sprinkle, evangelical scholar, wrote an article in the Bulletin for Biblical Research in 1999 titled 2 Kings 3, History or Historical Fiction. Sprinkle's explicit project in that article is to defend the historical reliability of 2 Kings 3 against scholars who treat it as fiction. He's a maximalist. He wants the chapter to be history. He spends the article arguing that 2 Kings 3 and the Mesha Stele can be reconstructed together into a coherent 9th century BCE story. And here's what he says in passing about how the chapter ends. The story records great wrath upon Israel and their withdrawal to their own land in 2 Kings 3:27. There you have it. The evangelical historian defending the historicity of the chapter lists the ending as a great wrath upon Israel and Israel's withdrawal to their own land. He treats it as a historical fact. He has to, because the chapter says it. Holy smokes. And Sprinkle isn't alone. Even older Christian commentators going back to the 19th century have had to wrestle with this verse. Arthur Peake's commentary on the Bible records the position that the wrath against Israel came from the god of Moab, who accepted the human sacrifice of his worshippers. A traditional Christian commentary from 1919 admitting the most natural reading of the verse, even though it clearly doesn't love where the reading leads. So look at the chain we've built here. Critical scholars say the wrath belongs to Chemosh. Evangelical historians admit the campaign ended in Israel's withdrawal. Older Christian commentaries acknowledge that most natural reading attributes the wrath to the Moabite god. This isn't like some fringe atheist reading, my friends. This is mainstream. This is how the verse has been read by people who actually wrestle with the Hebrew, including people whose careers depend on the text being trustworthy. Okay, now I want to pull back the curtain, because in 840 BCE, when Mesha was carving his stone, the god Yahweh was not the deity most modern Christians think he was. He wasn't the universal, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God of philosophical theism. He wasn't the Lord of all the earth. He wasn't the only God in the cosmos. He hadn't been promoted to those titles yet. He was the patron god of particular people in a particular land with cult vessels that could be captured, with a temple economy that could be raided, with a war record that could include losses. This is what they don't teach you in Sunday school. Not because your pastor is hiding it from you on purpose, Most pastors don't know this either. They were taught the same flat picture you were. The scholarship is over here, in the academy, in the journals, in books like the ones I'm about to hand you. The pew's over there, and there's almost no bridge between the two. That's what myth vision is, the bridge. Mark S. Smith argues that 9th century Yahweh fits inside the same West Semitic divine economy as Chemosh of Moab, Milcom of Ammon, Kos of Edom, and Hadad of Aram. Each nation had its patron god. Each god could grant victory or allow defeat. Each god's temple held cult objects that an enemy army could seize. The Meshes Stele is a snapshot of that world. Thomas Romer, in The Invention of God, Harvard University Press 2015, traces the long process by which Yahweh was transformed from a regional storm and war deity into the universal creator of later monotheism. He argues this transformation was not complete until the post-exilic period. The pre-exilic biblical sources, when read on their own terms, often preserve the older theology in fossil form. Now, Romer's book, Harvard University Press, also a goldmine. Pick up a copy. The man is one of the sharpest scholars working in the Hebrew Bible today by many people's account. I'll link both links in the description for you to get the books, okay?
Stupid book.
That's what we're looking at.
That fucking pisses me off.
Fossil theology.
God fucking damn it.
The older Yahweh, before the editor smoothed him out.
Bucket.
Israelite religion didn't start at monotheism and slip occasionally. Israelite religion started inside the same divine economy as everybody else, with Yahweh as one patron god among the patron gods of the surrounding nations, and slowly developed a stricter monolatry, and then later still a full monotheism. The Meshes Stele catches Yahweh at the early end of that long road. Quick aside, family, because the Meshes Stele turns up in two different debates and people get them confused. One debate is the one we've been having, the defeat of Israel, the vessels of Yahweh in Chemosh's temple. That debate is settled in the scholarly literature. Both texts agree Israel withdrew. The other debate is about a single broken line on the stone, line 31. A few letters are missing. In 1994, the French epigrapher André Lemaire proposed reading the surviving letters as House of David, which would make the Meshes Stele the earliest extra-biblical reference to David's dynasty alongside the Tel Dan Stele. He says, enough has been preserved at the end of line 31 to identify the new enemy of Moab against whom Mesha fought in the last half of the inscription, the House of David. Lemaire and Jean-Philippe Delin returned in 2022 with new reflectance transformation imaging, arguing the reading is confirmed. On the other side, Israel Finkelstein, Nadav Naaman, and Thomas Romer published a paper in Tel Aviv in 2018 arguing the same letters are better read as Balak, the Moabite king from Numbers 22. Matthew Rochelle and Andrew Burlingame in 2023 Biblical Archaeology Review response argued the line remains too damaged to confirm either reading. That fight is real. It's ongoing. We might do a full video on it at some point. The point for this documentary is that the House of David reading doesn't change the main story, even if line 31 says something else entirely. The rest of the inscription still describes Mesh's victory, the Horem at Nebo, the capture of Yahweh's vessels, and their dedication in Chemosh's temple. Those parts of the stone are not in dispute. Sit with me for a minute, my friends. You sat in church, maybe for years, maybe for decades. I know I did. You read through 2 Kings, maybe in a Bible study, maybe in a Bible in a Year program. You hit chapter 3. what did you actually hear about it? You heard at most that Elisha did a water miracle. You did not hear that the campaign failed. You did not hear that a king burned his oldest son on a city wall, and that the God he burned him for answered. You did not hear that a Moabite king carved his victory into a slab of basalt that has been on display in a Paris museum since the 1870s. You did not hear that the stone names Yahweh by name, describes his cold vessels being captured, and describes them being dragged in front of Chemosh, another god. You did not hear that an evangelical scholar, defending the historicity of the chapter, in the Bulletin for Biblical Research lists great wrath upon Israel and their withdrawal to their own land as the historical ending of the story. You didn't hear it because the implications are explosive for the church's narrative. And look, I get it. I was on that side of the pulpit. I once devoted my entire life to this God. I would have been furious hearing this video 10 years ago. So I'm not coming at this from outside, I'm coming at it from inside, from the pew, from the Bible college, from the years of trying to make every verse work. The church needs Yahweh to be the all-powerful universal God who never loses. He couldn't lose in my mind. The Bible has stories where Yahweh wins. The church loves those stories. The Bible also has stories where Yahweh loses. The church pretends those stories don't exist. 2 Kings 3 is one of those stories. If Yahweh was the universal omnipotent creator, why did a Moabite child sacrifice break the siege? If Yahweh was sovereign over all the nations, why was his cultic property hauled into the Chemosh's temple as a trophy? If the Bible was straight monotheism from cover to cover, why does the 9th century evidence show Yahweh embedded in the same divine economy as Chemosh, Milcom, and Kos? The honest answer is that the Bible is not straight monotheism from cover to cover. The Bible records a religious history. Yahweh starts out as a regional patron deity who can lose battles. Over centuries, the theology develops. By the time you reach 2nd Isaiah in the 6th century BCE, Yahweh has been elevated to sole creator of the universe. But in 840 BCE, when Mesha was watching the chisel cut into basalt, that elevation hadn't happened yet. Here's what's at stake. Modern Christianity sells you a God who is by definition undefeatable. Omnipotence is non-negotiable in modern Christian doctrine. If anything can beat him, he isn't him. The Hebrew Bible does not agree with that doctrine in every verse. The Hebrew Bible records its own God losing. It records him losing the ark to the Philistines in 1 Samuel 4. It records him unable to drive out the people of the plain because they had iron chariots in Judges 1:19. Look it up. It's right there. And it records his vessels being carried off to Chemosh in 2 Kings 3. The God of the Meshastili is the God of 2 Kings 3, the same God of Judges, the same God of Samuel, a regional patron warrior deity who could be defeated when a rival deity received a more compelling sacrifice. That's not the Christian God of later doctrine. That's an Iron Age tribal God, and the moment you see it, you're never going to forget. The Meshastili and 2 Kings are two reports of the same war. They agree on the outcome. The campaign failed. Yahweh did not protect his people. His vessels ended up in his rival's temple. Israelite coalition went home. Inside the ancient worldview that wrote both texts, this is the day Yahweh lost. It has been sitting in plain sight in your Bible the entire time.
Damn it. God fucking damn it.
If you grew up in church like me, you were told the Bible is the Word of God. Likely told it's inerrant, consistent. The story of a sovereign deity who never loses. The Bible itself doesn't actually make that claim about itself. The Bible records its own God's defeats. The Bible records the existence of rival gods. The Bible records what happens when those rival gods are given the right sacrifices. And the Meshistili, sitting in the museum for 150 years, has corroborated one of those defeats in stone. What do you do with that? If your faith depends on Yahweh being undefeatable inside the ancient world that wrote his book, the Meshistili ends that faith. If your faith can hold the historical truth that Yahweh of 840 BCE was a regional patron deity who lost a war to Chemosh, you have a different kind of faith than what most churches actually preach. Either way, the history is the same. Around 840 BCE, on a battlefield east of the Dead Sea, in the besieged city of Ker-Hareseth, a Moabite king lifted his oldest son onto the wall and burned him to Chemosh. Wrath fell on Israel. The coalition withdrew. The vessels of Yahweh were carried back to Dibon and set down in front of another god. And a king ordered a stone to be carved so that the world would remember it. And from there, I took the vessels of Yahweh and I dragged them before Chemosh. That happened. Hey, before you go, thank you. Genuinely, thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting through a video like this, for reading the Hebrew with me, looking at the stone, weighing the objections one by one. This isn't easy material, and I really appreciate you for showing up to it. It means something to me. If this video gave you something, a piece of history, a piece of permission, a piece of the puzzle, please smash that like button, share it with someone who needs to see it, drop a comment with your thoughts, your pushback, your story. I do read the comments, I really, really do. And if you want to support this channel, if you want videos like this to keep coming with the research time and the production behind them, the Patreon link and the channel membership link are pinned in the description. Even a few bucks a month keeps the lights on. Every supporter is the reason Myth Vision exists. Stay tuned, family. Until then, never forget, we are Myth Vision.
I fucked his butt.
When I was a kid, I got bored of playing E45 all the time and switched to the Sicilian defense. But I lost so many games with it. And it's because I tried to memorize a bunch of moves instead of understanding how to play it. That's why I made this video for you guys. I'll be playing the Sicilian against opponents of increasing levels while explaining all the plans, all the ideas, all the tactics at each move. So stick until the end because this opening is very powerful, but only if you play the right way. Let's go. This is the starting position of the Sicilian, and the core idea of this opening is to fight for the center. We don't want to let white go with the second pawn in the center. This is a general idea of many openings. We can't let it happen. Now, this opening, I love this opening so much because it's so hard for white to play it in a simple yet good way. And usually this bishop is very natural in the Italian game, but in the Sicilian is in a wrong place. That's why I usually recommend to play the Sicilian with the move e6 because it does so many things at the same time. Okay, they want to go for the fried lever. Good try, bro, but you're not even threatening the mate. So here you're not even threatening. How is it going to happen? Okay, let's go out with the knight. Very simple move and a little bit playing against the scholar's main idea. They want to
suck my motherfucking
there, but it won't happen. So the knight is kind of threatening to go over here or over there, attacking the queen one more time. And here is attacking the queen and the bishop. Here is attacking the queen and this pawn. So already some double threats. Now I'm not going to play this double threat because the queen has a simple move. Just move away here, there, defend the bishop. I would rather develop my pieces in normal ways. And a very simple way to develop the king side is to do something like knight here, bishop e7, and castle. Very simple, yet pretty quick. And then, why is the bishop misplaced on c4? Because the core idea of the Sicilian is, in the short, medium, or long term, to execute the move d5. Yes, d5 is the ultimate way to fight for the center. And the problem here is that I can play the move d5 with tempo, because I'm going to attack this bishop as well. Now, can I play the move d5? The pawn is attacked by this pawn, the queen, and the bishop 3 times, protected by the pawn, the knight, and the queen 3 times. So I actually can do that, and I will. Very powerful because the bishop is also under attack, and now if the pawn is taking, I take back with my pawn, opening up the bishop, and I am the one with 2 strong pawns in the center of the board. These pawns, okay, let's make them blue, because they're really powerful. Okay, they go here, they're pinning this knight, and now in chess there is a sort of, there is lots of drama about the concept of double pawns. Ooh, they're terrible. And yes, double pawns are a small weakness because, for example, now if they take, I have to take back with the pawn, and those pawns would be doubled. But it's not a tragedy. I will just castle here, and if they want, go, take my knight, I will have double pawns. It's not a big deal. Because the only pawn that is actually weak is a little bit this one. Because it cannot be protected by any other pawn. But the truth is that I get a lot in exchange of that. And right now, the biggest part is the bishop pair. I have 2 bishops. And the cool thing of the bishops is they can control the entire board. They can control both dark and light squares together. And they're pretty good, especially when the position is open. Now, I was kind of saying to that bishop, what do you want to do in your life? Take a decision. And attention here, there is already a big threat. Okay, as in every position, as in every opening, in every game, you gotta play with all your pieces. I will stress this point a lot. And try to remember during your games. Try to remember, play with all your pieces, play with all your pieces. Bring all of them. What do I need to do here? This bishop is not playing, the rooks are not playing, so let's do something more. I'll start with the rook over here, because I'm attacking this pawn, creating an immediate threat, and this is a beautiful file for the rooks. In general, rooks block open files. And here there are pretty much 2 open files, and that's exactly where I'm going to place my rooks. On the b5 and on the e5. What about this bishop? It's unclear, because maybe the bishop would really like to go here in order to attack this pawn, but I don't want to lose it, so I will not go there. Same thing, I cannot go, this is a blunder. I can go with the bishop here because the queen takes. So I'm kind of waiting. Probably the bishop needs to go over there, that's the best square. So this is a blunder because this pawn is completely pinned, so this is a free cheese macaroni, which I'm very happy to take. And that's another free cheese macaroni, which I'm very happy to take. Please subscribe to the channel if you are also a fan of free cheese macaroni. We all love 3 pieces, right? And this also comes to a very big price, because now I'm attacking the knight, and
Jesus fucking Christ.
This could be the beginning of a discovery attack. So I could push this pawn and attack the rook. And this is very far away. It's not so easy for this rating level, 579, to see that.
Jesus fucking goddamn Christ.
I don't want to teach you
fucking
something wrong. So this move would be just good, with the hope that they blunder, that they don't see that the rook is hanging. Because it's not that this is a good move in itself. No. Because I'm pushing the pawn, they could just move the rook here, and I would lose the pawn next. So I'm not going to play this. I rather need to improve my position even more. How can we do that? Let's keep it simple and bring the bishop out over here. It's a pretty good square because we are connecting the rooks. Maybe we are ready to bring the queen up, and we can then upgrade the bishop to the squares. There was a problem. I was a little bit taking some time to think about this move exactly, and then this pawn is attacked twice. And the most obvious way to defend, which would be this move, protecting this pawn with the pawn. This pawn is protected 2 times, attacked 2 times. But you see this pawn. That's what I was thinking. Okay, if they attack and I protect, then the pawn is hanging. But I evaluated that this guy can be taken. And once they take, I also win back the pawn. So it's a fancy trade of pawns. But since I have 2 extra pawns, trades are great for me. Every time we simplify the position, we are closer to a completely winning endgame. And now I also have 2 golden pawns. This guy and this guy. So in endgames, there are 2 pawns that might make you win a game. And this guy is called protected passed pawn. In general, passed pawns are very good in chess because they have a free way to promotion. But if they are protected by another pawn, they are even stronger because they are so stable. Anyway, let's try to use it. Right now we cannot push, but the more pieces we trade, imagine to have this same position but without all the pieces. So let's move all the pieces and we just have pawns and kings. Then the pawn is just running alone to promotion. Yet we have all other pieces, so we kind of need to trade first. Okay, let's play bishop here. So I'm forcing a trade because this knight cannot move. If the knight is moving, the rook behind is kind of crying. So yeah, we are forcing a trade, also making the king a little bit weaker because the pawn in front
fucking goddamn Christ
no longer supported. Okay, so they are attacking this rook, and I'm taking here no matter what, because if they take the rook, I take their rook. It's just a trade of pieces, because after I take the rook, they can take back my bishop. So we are just trading a lot. But now I have to defend. There is also a pawn under attack. So we will go with the rook simply back there, protecting this pawn. I don't want to give anything. Be greedy. This is very important. In chess, you gotta be greedy. Greedy, material, protect all your pieces, don't lose anything, don't give away anything. I know that on YouTube there are so many gambits. Play this gambit, play that gambit, play this. But in reality, they come with a big disclaimer. If you don't know how to play and how to execute a nice attack, you might end up with a pawn down, or with a piece down, or with many more things down. So the best way to learn chess in reality is to be greedy. Just bring out your pieces, try to win one pawn, some material from your opponent, because it's really blunder. Don't blunder yourself and win the game. As easy as that. In theory it's easy, in practice is of course hard, but an easy system always outsmarts a complicated one.
I just eared your rook.
Of course, you can't say always, never, but you understood my point. Keep it simple. I was attacking a pawn, they are protecting, and I will keep attacking the pawn. What is important is that my weak pawns in this position are those two. Because they cannot be protected by other pawns, but I will try my best. This guy is protected, this guy is protected by the queen. So I will go with the queen here. This has two purposes. I'm attacking this pawn, but I'm also kinda getting closer to the king, which I could try to checkmate. With the queen alone, I'm not going to checkmate, but if I can slide a rook somehow to the g file, it would be lovely. Can you imagine a checkmate setup? Would be with a rook on the g file. So let's say the rook can magically move on the diagonal. The king moves there, and what's the checkmate? I will let you think while take a sip of water. Queen f3, if you saw it, very good. If you didn't, after this video, go solve one math, checkmating once, and you will see you will solve it afterwards. Okay, so actually this move gives me a nice idea. Let's kind of bring the rook towards the g file. I'm attacking the queen, attacking the pawn, so we are getting closer. So as you saw, I came up with this move because I started with the end point. So I imagined a checkmate, and I kind of got there. Now the problem is that if I take this pawn, I lose the rook. So I don't want to do that. Of course I don't. So I will play this move, which is attacking the queen, protecting the pawn. Attention!
It's time
to the back mate. Now my king has space on the side, that's why this move h6 is so useful. Kind of avoid all the back rank problems. And now the king there is pretty fine. Also would have been possible to bring the rook back, but I want to go forward with my plan to take this pawn and to give checkmate. So that's what I'm trying to do. Now again, I can't take here, so I will take here with the queen. And I am threatening mate. This pawn is now falling. Well, it's okay. If they take this pawn,
stupid motherfucker.
They didn't.
God damn it.
This move is wrong for so many reasons.
Damn it.
So I could take here, and after this I win a rook. But I think I have a bim bum bam. Do you also see the bim bum bam? It's not bim bum bam, it's bim bum bam. And a million more moves.
Suck my motherfucking dick.
Ooh, but maybe. Okay, let's do like this. Let's do the bim. So my idea is that after this, the king moves, I do boom, the king moves, and I do bomb. But it's not checkmate because the queen can sacrifice for the mate. But now I will take here, and this looks good to me. If the rook is taking, it's just checkmate. And what are they gonna do here?
Motherfucking dick.
Okay, they just took it, and so this is a nice GG. New game, higher rating. We are in the Sicilian against Mr. Lukic from Switzerland. Grazie. Okay, knight here is a great move, and the move e6. Now, if they go Italian game style, we have an advantage because I told you this happens all the time, so we can go with the move d5. Or doesn't happen all the time, but it happens very often. Because, of course, people don't know how to play against Sicilian. White players don't know how to play. Sometimes this might happen. If you like the video, you increase your percentage that this might happen to you. We have an extra piece, we are at move 6, we are in an endgame. Alright, let's bring all the toys out, all the pieces out. There we go.
God fucking
I'll play
damn
bishop
it.
here just because I don't want to get somehow the knight to fork me. Okay, let's send this knight to fork them. This never happened, I don't know, I'm in misbelief. Okay, because usually after this they take this and then they check. This is very typical. But then black has a very good control over the center. You can simply bring out all the pieces. Okay, we have another fork. One day I will open a chess school in Switzerland so that Mr. Lukic can visit us and learn how to defend from this fork. Alright, GG's. Very quick analysis so that Mr. One day I will open a chess school in Switzerland
fixing to
so
get
that
her
Mr.
ear.
Lukic
She's
can
fixing
visit
the
us
ear.
and learn how to defend from this fork. Alright, GG's. Very quick analysis to show you what is a very likely scenario here. After pawn takes this check, now you play knight here. Don't be scared of the double pawns. After this, you're completely fine. You go with the knight out here. The bishop can go out there. Bishop here in the castle. Bring the rooks on the open file. Black is already better here. 0-30, which
is
absolutely a dream for black after 5 moves. Okay? New game. Bishop c4. Not where the bishop wants to be. e6. Wanting to play the move d4. And my opponent, well, is a different opponent, but they get a second chance.
Whispering, no.
The bishop. Okay, they take back, and now bishop check is usually what happens. Also, bishop here could be a possibility. Perfect, great. So we get a chance to discuss a bit this position, which, in my opinion, is something that you will get really very often. Okay, the queen is giving a check. This is not worrying. We could block with this bishop, with this other bishop. Let's go with this one. Why not? Then I want to go up with the knight. So now there is a threat. So they are threatening to take your